Namo Amitabha Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. My 7-day experience, listening to Buddhist teachings and how it truly changed my stress. 7 days ago, I didn't think my life was falling apart. From the outside, everything looked fine. I was functioning, working, communicating, and moving through my daily routine. But inside, I felt constantly tense. My mind was always racing. Stress had quietly become my normal state, and I didn't even realize how heavy it was until I decided to slow down. That's when I made a simple choice. For 7 days, I would listen to Buddhist teachings every day. No pressure, no expectations, just listening. On the first day, I noticed something uncomfortable. Silence felt unfamiliar. Even while listening, my thoughts kept interrupting. My mind jumped from unfinished tasks to future worries. I realized how rarely I allowed myself to truly pause. The teaching didn't demand anything from me. It didn't tell me to fix my life. It simply invited me to observe. That invitation alone felt relieving. By the second day, I began to listen differently. Instead of trying to understand everything, I allowed the words to flow through me. The calm tone, the steady pace, and the gentle wisdom created a sense of safety. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't rushing toward the next moment. On the third day, something subtle shifted. Stressful situations still appeared, but my reaction to them changed. I paused before responding. I breathed instead of immediately reacting. I started to realize that stress wasn't always caused by circumstances, but by my attachment to how things should be. This realization felt empowering. By the fourth day, my body began to respond. My shoulders felt less tight. My breathing became deeper without effort. Even my digestion improved. I hadn't realized how much stress I was carrying physically until it started to release. Listening became a daily refuge, not an escape from life, but a space to reconnect with it. On the fifth day, sleep came easier. I woke up feeling clearer, not overly excited or artificially happy, just calm and balanced. The teachings reminded me that peace doesn't come from controlling everything, but from understanding what we can let go of. By the sixth day, I noticed how my inner dialogue had softened. I used to speak to myself harshly, constantly pushing, constantly judging. Now, there was more patience, more compassion. I began treating myself like a human being instead of a project. On the seventh day, I reflected on the week as a whole. Life hadn't changed dramatically. My responsibilities were still there. Challenges still existed, but my relationship with them was different. Stress no longer dominated my thoughts. It came and went without defining me. I learned that peace is not something external. It's a skill, a practice, a way of relating to the present moment. What surprised me most was how practical the teachings felt. They weren't abstract ideas meant only for monks or scholars. They applied directly to modern life, to work stress, relationship tension, emotional exhaustion. Listening taught me to slow down internally, even when life moves fast externally. It also changed how I see other people. I became less reactive, more understanding. I realized that everyone is carrying something unseen. This awareness softened my interactions and reduced unnecessary conflict. Perhaps the most valuable lesson was this: stress thrives on resistance. Peace grows through acceptance. That doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means meeting life with clarity instead of constant tension. This experience didn't make me perfect. I still get stressed. I still have difficult days. But now, I notice sooner. I return to awareness faster, and that makes all the difference. If there's one thing I would share with anyone reading this, it's that you don't need to change your entire life to feel better. Sometimes, all it takes is listening, truly listening. 7 days was enough to show me that calm is not something reserved for special moments. It's available here and now. And once you experience that, even briefly, you realize it's worth returning to again and again. As I continued listening beyond those first 7 days, I began to realize that stress was never just about workload or external pressure. It was deeply connected to how I related to my own thoughts. Buddhist teachings gently revealed that my mind was often living in two places that didn't exist anymore or hadn't arrived yet, the past and the future. Very rarely was I truly present. Once I noticed this pattern, I couldn't unsee it. While washing dishes, my mind was already at tomorrow's responsibilities. While working, I was replaying yesterday's conversations. This constant mental movement created exhaustion. Not physical exhaustion, but a deeper kind, the kind that no amount of sleep can fix. Listening to Buddhist teachings didn't force my mind to stop. Instead, it taught me to observe. That shift was powerful. I wasn't fighting my thoughts anymore. I was watching them come and go, like clouds passing through the sky. Slowly, the space between thoughts widened, and in that space, stress had less room to exist. Another important realization came from the teachings on impermanence. I started to understand that everything I was stressing about was temporary. Emotions rise and fall, situations change. Even problems that feel overwhelming eventually pass. This understanding didn't make me careless, it made me calmer. When I stopped treating every challenge as permanent, my nervous system relaxed. I also noticed how often I tried to control outcomes. I wanted conversations to go a certain way. I wanted people to understand me. I wanted life to follow a plan. When reality didn't cooperate, stress followed. The teachings reminded me that control is often an illusion. We can influence, but we cannot command life. Letting go of that illusion didn't make me weaker, it made me lighter. One day, while listening, a phrase stood out to me. Suffering comes from attachment, not from experience itself. That sentence stayed with me for days. I reflected on how much stress came from clinging to expectations. Expectations of success, expectations of recognition, expectations of how things should be. As I practiced releasing those expectations, even slightly, I felt freer. I still cared. I still tried my best, but I wasn't emotionally chained to outcomes anymore. Whether things worked out or not, my inner stability remained. This inner stability changed how I handled failure. Before, failure felt personal, like proof that I wasn't enough. Now, it felt like feedback, a moment to learn, not a judgment of my worth. This shift alone reduced an enormous amount of pressure I had unknowingly placed on myself. Listening to Buddhist teachings also reshaped my relationship with discomfort. I used to avoid uncomfortable feelings as much as possible. I distracted myself, stayed busy, or numbed myself with entertainment. The teachings encouraged me to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. Surprisingly, when I stopped resisting uncomfortable emotions, they softened. Fear lost its sharpness. Sadness felt less heavy. Anxiety became manageable. I learned that emotions demand attention, not suppression. Another unexpected benefit was how this practice improved my focus. My attention span had been fragmented by constant stimulation. Listening daily trained my mind to stay with one thing. This skill carried into other areas of my life. Conversations felt deeper, work felt more intentional, even rest felt more restorative. As days passed, I became more aware of my body. I noticed tension as it arose, instead of discovering it when it became pain. When stress appeared, I adjusted my breathing. I relaxed my jaw. I softened my shoulders. These small acts of awareness prevented stress from accumulating. One evening, I caught myself smiling for no reason. There was no big achievement, no special event, just a quiet moment of contentment. That's when I understood something important. Happiness doesn't always arrive as excitement. Sometimes it arrives as peace. The teachings also shifted how I viewed aging. I realized that constant stress hardens the mind and body. It accelerates emotional aging. Calmness, flexibility, and presence keep us young in ways that go far beyond appearance. When the mind is light, the body follows. I became more patient with others as well. I stopped expecting people to behave exactly how I wanted. I listened more. I reacted less. I remembered that everyone is navigating their own struggles. This compassion reduced conflict and increased connection. Over time, gratitude naturally grew. Not forced gratitude, but genuine appreciation. I noticed simple things more clearly. A quiet morning, warm sunlight, a calm breath. Gratitude shifted my attention from what was missing to what was already here. Stress feeds on lack. Gratitude feeds on abundance. Listening to Buddhist teachings didn't remove challenges from my life. It changed my relationship with them. Challenges became teachers instead of threats. Obstacles became opportunities to practice awareness. One of the most powerful lessons was learning that peace is not something you hold on to forever. It comes and goes, and that's okay. The practice is not about maintaining constant calm. It's about returning to awareness again and again without self-judgment. I also learned that silence is not empty, it's full of insight. In moments of silence, I discovered clarity. I discovered myself. This journey taught me that true strength is not found in control or perfection. It's found in presence, in the ability to stay open even when life feels uncertain. As I continue this practice, I know stress will still appear. That's part of being human. But now, stress is no longer my identity. It's just a passing experience. If you're reading this and feeling overwhelmed, know this. You don't need to fix everything at once. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to escape your life. Sometimes, all you need to do is listen. Listen with patience. Listen with curiosity. Listen without judgment. 7 days was enough to open the door. Walking through it is a lifelong journey, and it's one worth taking. As this journey continued, I began to understand something even more profound. Stress was not my enemy, it was a messenger. For years, I had treated stress as something to fight, suppress, or escape from. Buddhist teachings helped me see that stress was simply a signal, pointing toward areas of resistance inside me. When I stopped labeling stress as bad, it lost much of its intensity. I listened to it instead. What am I holding on to too tightly? What am I afraid to lose? What am I trying to control? These questions didn't bring immediate answers, but they opened doors to awareness. One of the most impactful lessons came from understanding, craving, and aversion. I saw how much of my stress came from wanting things to be different than they were, wanting success faster, wanting people to change, wanting certainty in an uncertain world. The teachings reminded me that craving creates tension and aversion creates suffering. When I practiced accepting things as they were, without giving up my values or effort, I felt a deep sense of ease. Acceptance wasn't weakness, it was clarity. From clarity, wiser action naturally followed. I also noticed how much of my identity had been built around stress. Being busy, being needed, being productive all the time. Stress had become proof that I mattered. Letting go of that identity felt uncomfortable at first. Who am I if I'm not constantly pushing myself? Through listening, I learned that my worth was never tied to exhaustion. I didn't need to earn rest. Rest was a natural state when resistance softened. This realization changed how I approached work. I became more focused, less scattered. Instead of multitasking out of anxiety, I did one thing at a time with full attention. Strangely, I accomplished more while feeling less drained. The teachings also helped me understand emotional triggers. I started noticing patterns, certain words, certain tones, certain situations. Instead of reacting automatically, I paused. That pause gave me choice. I could respond with awareness instead of old conditioning. This shift didn't happen overnight. Sometimes I still reacted, but now I noticed sooner. And noticing sooner meant suffering less. Another powerful change was how I related to silence. I used to fill every quiet moment with noise, music, podcasts, scrolling, conversations. Silence felt uncomfortable. Listening to Buddhist teachings trained me to sit with silence without fear. In that silence, I discovered depth. Silence became a teacher. It showed me where my mind wanted to escape. It showed me where healing was needed. And slowly, silence became a place of rest. As my stress reduced, my sense of empathy expanded. I became more sensitive to the emotional states of others, not in a draining way, but in a compassionate way. I listened more deeply. I interrupted less. I didn't rush to fix people's problems. I learned that presence itself is healing. This awareness strengthened my relationships. Conversations felt more authentic. Conflicts softened. I no longer needed to defend myself constantly. I felt secure enough to be open. Listening to Buddhist teachings also changed how I viewed uncertainty. I used to fear not knowing. I wanted clear answers and guarantees. The teachings showed me that uncertainty is not a flaw in life. It's the nature of life. Resisting uncertainty creates anxiety. Accepting it creates peace. Once I stopped demanding certainty, my mind relaxed. I trusted myself to respond wisely as situations unfolded. That trust reduced a tremendous amount of stress. I also noticed how this practice affected my physical health. My headaches became less frequent. My energy levels stabilized. I didn't crash as hard at the end of the day. Stress had been quietly draining my vitality, and releasing it allowed energy to flow more naturally. Another lesson that stayed with me was the idea of non-self, the understanding that I am not my thoughts, emotions, or roles. This insight created distance between me and my stress. If stress appeared, it wasn't me. It was an experience happening within awareness. That distinction was liberating. I no longer felt trapped inside my mind. I became the observer rather than the prisoner. Listening daily also cultivated discipline, but a gentle kind. Not forced, not rigid, just a steady commitment to inner care. That consistency built trust with myself. I showed up for my own well-being. Over time, joy began to appear more frequently. Not intense excitement, but a quiet joy. A sense of ease with life. A feeling of being at home within myself. I learned that joy doesn't come from adding more to life. It comes from removing what doesn't belong. Excess worry, excess comparison, excess pressure. The teachings helped me see how comparison fueled stress. Comparing my progress to others, comparing my life to ideal images. Once I let go of comparison, I returned to my own path. That return felt peaceful. I also became more forgiving toward myself, toward others. Forgiveness wasn't about excusing harm. It was about releasing the burden of resentment. Carrying resentment had been exhausting. Letting it go felt like setting down a heavy weight. This journey deepened my understanding of compassion. Compassion for myself when I struggled. Compassion for others when they did. Compassion became a way of living, not just a concept. I realized that many people are stressed not because life is too hard, but because they are fighting life constantly. When the fight stops, even briefly, relief appears. Listening to Buddhist teachings didn't isolate me from the world. It helped me engage with it more skillfully. I became more patient in traffic, more present in conversations, more grateful during ordinary moments. One day, I noticed something surprising. I felt younger, not physically in a dramatic way, but internally. My mind felt lighter, more flexible, less burdened by unnecessary worries. Stress ages us emotionally. Peace restores youthfulness from within. This understanding made me appreciate the connection between mind and body. When the mind softens, the body follows. When stress dissolves, vitality returns. As I continue this path, I know challenges will remain. But now, I face them with steadiness, with curiosity, with trust. If you're listening to this and wondering whether such a simple practice can truly make a difference, I can only share my experience. It changed how I relate to stress. It changed how I relate to myself. And that changed everything else. This journey didn't require perfection. It required presence. And presence is always available. As I come to the end of this reflection, I want to be honest. This journey did not turn me into a different person. It didn't remove every problem or erase every difficult emotion. What it did was far more meaningful. It changed how I meet life. Stress still visits from time to time. That's part of being human. But it no longer controls my decisions, my reactions, or my sense of self. When stress arises now, I recognize it. I breathe with it. I listen to what it's pointing toward. And most of the time, it softens on its own. Listening to Buddhist teachings taught me that peace is not something you achieve at the end of a perfect life. It's something you return to, again and again, in the middle of an imperfect one. I learned that I don't need to escape my thoughts, suppress my emotions, or fix myself to be okay. I only need to be present with honesty and kindness. In that presence, healing naturally unfolds. This experience also reminded me that we are not alone in our struggles. Every person you see is carrying invisible weight. When we soften toward ourselves, we naturally soften toward others. Compassion becomes effortless. Understanding replaces judgment. Perhaps the most important lesson of all was realizing that inner peace is not fragile. It doesn't disappear because life gets busy or unpredictable. It's always there, waiting beneath the noise, accessible the moment we slow down and listen. 7 days was enough to open my eyes. Continuing the practice keeps my heart open. If you're feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, or disconnected, know this. You don't need to change who you are. You don't need to add more effort or pressure. Sometimes, the most powerful shift begins with something simple: sitting quietly, listening deeply, allowing yourself to be human. Peace doesn't arrive loudly. It arrives gently. And once you recognize it, you realize it has been with you all along. That is the gift this journey gave me. And it's a gift available to anyone willing to listen.